So today, as we've been saying, senators are deciding the next Supreme Court justice after talking to Judge Kavanaugh and talking to Christine Blasey Ford. Now we hear from two people who personally know the accused and his accuser, and Amna Nawaz has that.
Judy, let's first listen to another exchange from the hearing today. This time it's Democrat Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island questioning Judge Kavanaugh about some of the behavior that happened during his high school years.
You mentioned, I think, the Renata, I don't know how you pronounce that. That's the proper name of an individual, you know?
Renata.
Renata? It's spelled with an E at the end, R-E-N-A-T-E. Is that
correct?
Okay. And then after that is the word alumnius. What does the word alumnius mean in that context?
I explained that in my opening statement. She was a great friend of ours. A bunch of us went to dances with her. She hung out with us as a group. The media circus that has been generated by this thought and reported that it referred to sex. It did not. Never had any, as she herself said on the record, any kind of sexual interaction with her.
Devil's Triangle?
Drinking game.
How's it played?
3 glasses in a triangle.
And?
You ever played quarters?
No.
Okay, it's a quarters game.
Ann Doherty's?
As you can tell from my calendar, she had a party on the 4th of July in the beach in Delaware.
And there are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 F's in front of the 4th of July. What does that signify, if anything?
One of our friends, Squee, when he said the F word, starting at a young age, had kind of a wind up to the F word, kind of a and then the word would come out. And when we were 15, we thought that was funny.
Joining me now is Samantha Gary, who is a classmate at the Holton Arms School, friends with Ford at the time of the alleged assault, and continues to be today. Ms. Gary, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
A lot has been made over the last few weeks, and even today, digging into the details of that high school experience, understanding what it was all about. You were there with, then you called her Chrissy,
right.
Blasey. Is this ringing true, the stories that you're hearing about the parties and the culture of drinking and so on? What do you think when you hear this?
Well, there are different elements to the stories that are coming out. Obviously, the drinking rings very true. The yearbook references and sort of the way the guys handled situations like that rang true. You know, this idea that there was sort of a larger culture of gang rape does not ring true at all. I think we would have known that if it was going on a regular basis. But
you're talking about some of the more recent allegations
some of the more recent
made by another woman who
absolutely
accused Judge Kavanaugh,
which sort of is playing into this whole narrative of what the culture was like.
Right.
You know, my personal experience is probably less relevant because what I have heard since this has all come out, I've just had so many women of all ages and classes, but particularly around my years, come out and tell me that they had similar experiences while they were in high school. So clearly this was going on.
When you say similar, you mean similar
sexual
to what
assaults
Christine Blasey Ford is?
Rape.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
So you have known her now for 3 decades plus. What was it like for you just to watch her there today, sharing her story, taking those questions in front of the entire country?
Yeah, it was really intense. I was there with 8 or 10 of our other close friends, and we just felt her so deeply while she was giving the testimony that we just felt pained. We felt physically pained having to hear her go through that because we really recognized how difficult that was for her.
So much is made about credibility and about character. How do you think she represented herself today on those fronts?
Well, we were just so proud of her. I said before her testimony that you were going to see that she was intelligent, authentic, fierce, and frightened. And she was all of those things. But most of all, I think everyone could see that she's a very genuine, thoughtful person.
I don't know if you got to watch the testimony or questioning of Judge Kavanaugh that followed, but as part of that, he was asked about whether or not he knew Christine Blasey back then, and he said he didn't. He said they traveled in the same social circles, but he didn't really know her. Does that ring true for you?
No, that sounds sort of like a play on words. I mean, he did know her. Traveling this, just like I knew him, it doesn't mean that we were close or friends, but we certainly knew each other. And, so to me, that seems like an evasive answer.
There were a whole host of characters and how the Senate committee has become familiar with, many Americans as well. Mark Judge, of course, Patrick P.J. Smith. And there was a woman, a friend of Dr. Ford's, Leland Kaiser, then Leland Ingham, who Dr. Ford actually testified to the fact that she had reached out to her.
Right.
Although she had said she does not remember this night and does not remember being there or that it happened at all. Is there anything else we should understand about this friend and the role that she had that night?
Well, if you listen to the testimony again, what you'll hear in Chrissy's answer was pretty important, because what she said was that Leland had submitted her testimony to the Senate, but then she called Chrissy to apologize for it. And, Chrissy's very close to Leland, and as Chrissy said, Leland's had some health issues that she's struggling with, and we just kind of left it at that. But I think Leland has had to struggle with this a bit herself.
You have said from the beginning, I should note that we have spoken before, and you've mentioned, and I've quoted you here, saying that you don't believe your friend is invested in the outcome of this process at all, that she just wanted to be heard and have her story heard and the facts looked into. But at the end of all of this, as we see now the committee's moving ahead with a vote, if Judge Kavanaugh is indeed confirmed to become Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh, how do you think that will go over? How do you think that will resonate with the woman that you know?
I think she will be gratified that she saw this thing through and she said her piece. I can't speak to whether she's going to feel that she was properly listened to. I think there were being in the room, I definitely felt a strong resistance among some members of the committee to really taking in her story. But I think she'll be disappointed. I think it'll be kind of a blow to this larger idea that character matters and that testimony of a survivor matters, and that her credibility is assailed by people who already had an agenda and were eager to see that through regardless of what she had to say. And she certainly suffered a lot. So she's paid a high price. And then she said that too. She's like, I don't really want to step in front of a train that's going to go where it's going anyways. So that was, as she said, a calculated risk for her.
And a risk that she took. Samantha Gary, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you.